It's my pleasure to have Mr. Simon from Mckenzie with us today. We are at the IETA B-PMR mission in city of Tianjin. So glad to have you here. And so can you please introduce us to your company first?
Oh, sure. So my name is Simon Greeacre. I'm a senior associate in the environmental markets team at Baker Mckenzie. I'm based in the Sydney office, but we run our global environmental practice group from Sydney. So from there we cover really all carbon markets, working with our London office and Chicago office and our Hong Kong office, including the Chinese carbon market. So we're a law firm, so I guess the service we provide is providing legal advice and sometimes policy advice to our clients. And those clients range from project developers to investors, financiers, off-takers of carbon credits. We also advise governments, so we've stress-tested different legislative programs for ETSs around the world, including the Australian ETS, parts of the EU ETS. We also advise the New Zealand government on the New Zealand ETS, and we also advise multilateral organisations. So we've drafted template carbon trading documents including for IETA, but also the World Bank, the International Finance Corporation, the ADB, and others. So I think that probably introduces us. Globally, we're quite a large firm. We're actually the largest law firm in the world. But within our firm, we have a dedicated team of environmental markets lawyers, and I'm one of those.
Excellent. You've given a really good introduction. Now I'd like to ask, with regards to Chinese pilot ETS, they're saying that once in full action, it'll be bigger than the EU ETS. So what role Baker Mckenzie is playing in the current Chinese ETS?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, yeah, I looked at some numbers on this yesterday, and even just the pilot schemes will cover a population of almost 250 million people. So, I mean, that's straight away you have a population base and a market that's already much bigger than all of the operating ETSs except the EU ETS. And of course, when China moves to a national scheme, I think perhaps not immediately, but certainly within probably 4 or 5 years, I think we could expect to see the Chinese market overtaking the EU market in size. I mean, whether the trading activities in the Chinese market, whether there's more trading activity than there is in the EU ETS will depend on a lot of things, including on the rules that are adopted for the Chinese scheme, what offsets are allowed to be used, whether it's possible to trade forward contracts and futures, or whether it's only possible to trade spot contracts, which is the current situation. There are many variables which will determine how big the Chinese market ultimately is, but I think the potential is certainly there for it to be bigger than the European market and bigger than any other current ETS operating in the world. As far as our role in the Chinese domestic market, well, Baker Mckenzie has had an environmental markets practice group since I think 1997, and many of the earliest projects and deals and investments that we worked on were in China. So we've been involved in the CDM market, the Clean Development Mechanism market, here for a very long time. We've also been involved in advising clients on verified carbon standard projects. So that's our pre-existing involvement. We advised the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank on the establishment of their carbon investment funds, and at the time that we did that, much of that investment activity was happening here in China. We also advised on some of the biggest HFC 23 deals 5 or 10 years ago. As far as what we're doing now, well, our involvement really to date has been to advise international and Chinese companies who are considering trading in the market. So we've drafted template trading documents for some of our clients, and we've also advised them on the rules around the pilot schemes. And I think we're expecting that there'll be much more of that kind of work in the future as the market takes off here. And we're certainly excited about the possibilities. I think they're really endless here. I think there's lots of potential here in China.
All right. Thanks for your views on the Chinese ETS, and I'm sure that typically in a emission trading scheme, lawyers, especially law firms, play an integral part in setting up the foundations and as we move forward in the contract setting and all that. So I'm sure that it's I mean you'll have a big hand. Baker McKenzie will have a big hand as we progress. Now, like, Bacon McKenzie is an integral part of the B-PMR mission. So I'd like to have your views on this initiative by IETA, in which the industry-to-industry dialogue is being promoted under the B-PMR missions. So where do you see, going from here? Like, how do you see the path forward?
For the B-PMR or generally for IETA?
The industry-to-industry dialogues like this, like B-PMR.
Well, I think industry-to-industry dialogues are crucial for carbon markets, and the reason for that is that governments design carbon markets and they develop the rules of the carbon markets, but especially in new markets like China for the pilot schemes, there are varying degrees of understanding of the way that carbon markets and the rules of those carbon markets work, and really the governments can't do everything. I previously worked in government before I joined Baker and McKenzie, and I know that there's much that governments can do, but there are also limitations. And one of the limitations is that government is generally not involved directly in the business of carbon and carbon trading. I mean, obviously there are some governments that have carbon procurement programs, but generally the main players in the market are private companies. Even when those companies are owned by the government, they're generally behaving in a commercial way. So, really the only way or the best way for market participants in a country like China to learn about how to manage their obligations under the Chinese emissions trading schemes, and also how to turn them into an opportunity, is really to be talking to other market participants who have lots of skills and experience that they can share. And I don't think there's any other program in the world that is doing this at the moment in the way that the B-PMR is doing it, and I think it's a great idea. The missions that the B-PMR has run to date, from what I've heard, have been very successful, and this one is shaping up to be pretty successful as well. So, I hope that the current high degree of interest that IETA members have in the B-PMR continues to grow, because B-PMR is playing a really important role in the development of new carbon markets around the world.
Very well said. Thanks a lot for your time, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of the the Tianjin B-PMR. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.